Hello and welcome to another episode of Chillin' with Dylan. I'm your host Dylan, and I'm super excited to invite back onto the show my lovely wife Jennifer. Welcome.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. Today our episode is about the topic of surrounding yourself with the right people, and are you surrounding yourself with the right people, and I know our thoughts on this topic. Cool. So I just want to ask, to start off with, Jen, why do you think it's so important to surround yourself with the right people in life?
That's a good question, Dylan. I don't know if you're familiar with the words or the similar phrase, birds of a feather flock together.
Oh my gosh.
Or, it's not bros before hoes, but...
Whoa! Well, yeah.
There's definitely many phrases, I think the classic one that a lot of multi-level marketing people say is show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Oh my gosh.
But
all the cliches.
all the cliches. But aside from the cheesy cliches, some level of it actually is true that I find. I think surrounding yourself with the right people definitely can make or break your life and set you in a trajectory whether or not you like it, in a way where you're thriving or you're kind of dying. Yeah, but I mean that's my initial thoughts on it. Do you have?
Yeah, I think that it's very important. I reckon sometimes you don't actually get to choose who you're surrounded by. So when you have the ability, it's always a good idea to use that, because I think, some people don't. It's kind of, I guess, a privilege or a blessing to be able to choose who your friends are, or the people that you see outside of the times that you're in a group that you're forced to be in. So when you're growing up, I guess you're just always surrounded by your family. When you're young, like a baby, you don't have a choice. When you're going through school from primary school up to high school, you're kind of in whatever place that you live in, the geographic area that you're in, and you can't pick who they just come and go, or your teachers, everything's forced on you. Half the time you don't really pick your school. It's only until afterwards, maybe your situation you can pick. You kind of you'll be surrounded by, at this point in life, since we're all kind of in our 20s, well, us two at least, we have for some of us it's been a whole decade or so. We actually get to pick who our friends are if we go to university and study. It's much easier to pick your courses, groups, clubs, all that, and and you obviously also pick which place you work for. You have to decide yes or no, but then you can't decide who you're with, because that's all dependent on where you are. So those are some areas where you'll find yourself being surrounded by people. But I think I like to think about a proverb that's quite useful. It's the one that goes, iron sharpens iron. So that's kind of about people with the skills or the type of character that they are helps you become a better version of yourself, being more like them, and you kind of bounce off each other. So for whatever I guess we want to do with our lives, which is all sorts of things, being surrounded by the right people is important.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with those points. I also think it's not just limited to uni, but you are right. It's definitely, after you leave high school, you do have a choice to kind of pick pick who you surround yourself with. Obviously, I understand that we're in a privileged place where we have the ability to either move out of home or earn enough to have a okay life and sustainable living. You would hope so, but yeah, I guess where we're coming from with this topic and what I had in mind is how it's really important that who you surround yourself with really do change your perspective. So I do think that sometimes, okay, if you're surrounded by, like, if you think of it like this, if you want to be rich, I don't think you should surround yourself with broke people.
Yeah.
Or I don't think you should surround yourself with the people who have spending mentality, because that's all you see and that's probably what you think is normal.
Yeah.
And, you know, or if you want to, I don't know, if you wanted to content create or if you wanted to be inspired and motivated, I don't think you should surround yourself with people that are not striving to, you know, make it big or things like that.
That's why for us too, we're a husband and wife couple who are both podcasters, right? Now that you're part of it, that's why
I can be a regular, I guess.
yes, you're always welcome, of course. But yeah, I think I agree. Like, I think with I feel like when there's groups of people, they tend to talk about you know, similar things. Things kind of repeat. So if you want to be a certain type of way, then it's helpful to do it with other people like you and not alone.
Agreed.
Yeah, so that's like, I think it's just like a fact of life that everyone finds out eventually. So if you want to be funny, you can be with funny people like us. So would recommend listening to more CWD podcasts if you want to learn the art of humor.
But obviously I think to our friends, thank you for clicking and listening in on this. But if you're if you don't actually know us personally, I think maybe the title would have captivated you in some form or way. So thank you for listening. So I really hope that you actually get out of this podcast that it actually just challenges your thinking or makes you evaluate who you surround yourself with. And I'm not saying like drop your friends instantly, but obviously drop them if they're toxic.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess we could list some toxicity traits, but I'll say that a bit later.
It's a big topic, red flags. But no, I think if you're listening to this podcast, I feel like you probably I don't know, everyone who listens to this might actually have something in common, you know? Like, you might not even know each other or some other person who listens. So, yeah, I don't know what you would want to do. Maybe comment. You actually can comment on the podcast to say hi and introduce yourself. This is on Spotify if you are listening, but on other stuff it's different. But but maybe it's about kind of putting yourself out there and being more active and more present. I guess visual, like being able to show your face or your name or a picture or something like that, where places where there's people that'll like you or that might have similarities, and the type of people that you want to be like. I think it's easy to know. It's easier to become like people that you actually see around you, that you see physically,
and I mean, I'm not saying that like everyone you end up like the people you surround yourself with, but to some extent there is some truth to that. I did want to talk about, like, I guess content creation or inspiration or motivation. For those that don't know, that Dylan and I actually moved away from New Zealand, and now we live in Australia, and we are surrounded by the most talented people who really do love actually creating things, whether it's food, whether it's items, whether it's videos, whether it's music. We have been really blessed by their presence. And so I guess this is one way that we are also inspired and motivated by what they do with their lives. But we actually had to physically leave New Zealand to actually, I don't know, get ourselves surrounded by people with like-minded people. And I don't know, for those that are listening, New Zealand has this tall poppy syndrome that I think a lot of people, if you do speak to someone who's from New Zealand and someone who is on the viewpoint or on the motivational buzz of actually achieving more for themselves, I think the term tall poppy syndrome will come up eventually. So Dylan, what is tall poppy syndrome?
Tall poppy syndrome is when within a group or community, one person or maybe a smaller group, they're trying to do something that's a bit more unique, or they're trying to like kind of level up and be like a standout. This could be like standout performer, or like standout student. People will often, the rest of the group who, that usually a lot of the time there's envy, and I think will say negative things to make the people who are trying to do something feel bad, whether that's sometimes it's directly and sometimes it's indirectly, behind their back, which is potentially worse because I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yes.
But it's quite common in New Zealand because I think we're a small country, so I don't know, like it's not common for people to do something big, but and it's something that could be better. But speaking of that, actually, I also remember this reminds me of the almost opposite of that, like kind of culture. The opposite of tall poppy syndrome is where like maybe everyone's trying to do something or follow a dream and do something amazing or like something unlikely, that people usually be like, yeah, that's not very likely. A place like that I lived in before, of course, was in LA, Los Angeles, where it almost felt like everyone who moved to LA was like someone who was trying to become famous, like trying to become an actor or musician or like something like that, where I don't think like, you say something that sounds crazy, like, you want to be like the most famous Hollywood actor, but people are like, oh, that's pretty normal. That's a different culture of kind of, they'll be supportive in a way. So that's an example of like a different environment to one with a bit of tall poppy syndrome. Nice.
So Dylan, I guess my next question for you is, how do you know whether you're surrounded by the right people?
That's a good question. I think maybe starting with, how do you know you're not surrounded with the right people?
Fair enough.
I feel like it's hard to say exactly, but I think if that was the case, and if you're listening to this, and I think it's usually some feeling that it's like deep down something's not quite right every time you spend like a prolonged period of time with people you often have interactions with, or like when you agree to do something and you're like afterwards it's not as, maybe you just don't feel as inspired or as positive about what you want to do afterwards. Like if you wanted to do something really like random example, really random, like you wanted to make slippers for a living and you told your hypothetical group, friends, community, family, it could be family, it could be like any group, and then afterwards they're like all sorts of like reasons not to. That's an example. I mean there is actual good reasons not to, but like sometimes they're looking out for you, but like for anything like that doesn't actually, like, as long as you're saying you're not jumping off a cliff and you keep receiving certain responses, maybe that's a sign. So when you are in the right group, I just feel like maybe you kind of feel a bit more positive about things you want to do in the future and want to share. Like you'd probably like be more comfortable talking about what your goals are in life, or what you want to achieve, and things like that. You might just feel there's just deep down there's something similar with the groups of people that you're with, or that when you meet them, maybe you're like, I can't imagine life, what would have been like before now, because you can only think they've already added quite a lot in your life, despite being a new introduction. So that's I don't know. Those are some ideas. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're pretty spot on how I think, and I guess I can only speak from my personal experience, and it is in a similar case where I know we've had chats about this, like obviously not recorded.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it really does make a difference. So obviously, when you live life, there are friends that come into your life for a reason, or the classic cliche, like for a reason, for a season, and for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I've definitely had a few friends for a season, and definitely a lot of toxicity, especially myself included. So I do take full accountability for the contribution I've added to those friendships that weren't always the greatest. But I knew like deep down, if you ever leave a friendship, or if you're about to hang out with somebody and you have that like your heart just sinks, or you have that gut wrenching feeling of really not wanting to hang out with someone, I think that's also a sign that that's a toxic friendship, or some form of relationship there is definitely not right. And especially when it comes to like family and friends, but even dreams, I feel like when you have dreams, I understand it's really important who you tell your dreams to, or who you tell your goals to, because it really does kind of shape how you sometimes see the world. And I know, like, when you're young and you have dreams and you're really optimistic, or even when you're older, it's really important to, I guess, who you tell your dreams to, because either they can be the people that uplift you and support you through that dream, or the people that can tear it down, whether or not they know it unwillingly. And so in saying that, I just feel like you should really, like, if you have a dream, I think you should pursue it. And even if people around you are saying so many different things, it can be really disheartening. But I don't think you should, well, I guess depending on what kind of dream you have, obviously if it's to do with like murder or anything like that, please don't. Gosh. Like my true crime brain is like kicking in. But if it's like, I don't know, if you have like good ambitions and goals, surround yourself with goal setting people, surround yourself with people that are supportive, surround yourself with people that can be realistic, but also find opportunities and ways for you to make it happen, or just don't let your dream die.
I think that's good, really good. I think I'm really grateful we're around people who they can really speak life into things that we want to do, that are important to us, and that's helpful. Words really do have an impact. And if you could track words and measure like numbers or something behind it, you would eventually find that maybe certain people will always bring out like a negative kind of reaction or result, and then others tend, like, pretty much will always say good things and lift you up, even when they're like saying like something that's constructive criticism. You might not like feel that bad, because you can already tell that it's from a good place, like a good place in their heart, that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And like there's definitely people who will give criticism, but it's kind of like they were waiting to do it, like they were waiting to find something that wasn't quite wrong and saying it, and then the 50 million other opportunities to say something good or compliment, they just refrain. They just don't do that. That's kind of not, that's like the opposite of like, I guess what you probably want.
But I guess at that point, right, like it's a reflection of themselves. Like they're really, what's that word? They're,
I don't know, projecting.
They're really projecting their own insecurities onto you. Or, or maybe it does come from envy or jealousy. Like, they probably want to do that too. I saw something, as I obviously brain rot and scroll reels and TikTok or whatnot, but someone who was a content creator said, it's cringe until it's not. So you just have to keep posting that really awkward dance video constantly, or you have to, I don't know, film yourself talking to a camera and be unnatural for who knows how long, but just keep doing it until it's not cringe. And someone else also said, like, the chances are that the other person that's calling it cringe or watching you or judging you, it's most likely that they also want to do the same thing too, but they just can't get past the barrier of letting other people judge what they do.
Yeah, I think, yeah, for sure. Just I guess I think with like people who say good wise words like that, you know, they're probably the ones that will be waiting for your next post or whatever, if that's what you're doing, or like it could be something else, you know, like something else creative, or just something that's important to you. So just I think this is a good opportunity to think about where you are in life, you know, kind of even auditing like the people that you are surrounded with. They make an impact, that's for sure. So yeah, and this podcast, our goal is to be like a voice of positivity. So that I guess hopefully if you ever listen to CWT, hopefully you feel the good vibes, and that's what we're trying to bring the good vibes around the world, if you're listening somewhere that's quite far from where we are in Melbourne. And yeah, we're just trying to do that one podcast at a time.
Yeah, but I guess also for the ones that have had their dreams crushed, or not necessarily dreams crushed, but for those of you that actually don't have a support system or good people surrounding you. Yeah. Sorry, that's the correct term. You're not alone. I feel like there are definitely other people that are actually in the same boat, and definitely maybe this is a little bit not personal per se, but I remember telling Dylan this, like obviously my husband, but I just remember being younger and I loved baking. Baking was always my hobby, and I think I was really inspired of like other people baking cakes and posting it on Instagram, and you know, just sharing photos and probably making a small side hustle or business out of it. And I remember that's probably what I wanted to do at the time. But I just remember I had a few family members that would make jokes or like would roast, and then at that point I just like killed my dream there. And then at that point, even now I still don't really bake. Baking has just been a hobby, but it's not something I actually pursue.
But Jen makes really good cakes and other baking. When I turned a certain age 3 years ago, which I won't mention, she baked the most amazing cake, which had like macarons on it. Too kind.
But it's small things like that where it really, you know, things like that do impact what you do in the future. So to go from that to being in this environment now where, you know, where I'm so inspired into like creating stuff, or whether it's writing, or whether it's drawing, or whether it's you know, side hustles or entrepreneurship or whatnot. It just has solidified how much and how important it is to really surround yourself with the right people, and sometimes your family might not be the right people to trust, especially with your dreams or your goals, or to share your vision. Even some friends might not be the right people to actually share that as well. And that's hard, but I think you'll know who, once you actually surround yourself with really good people, with people that uplift you, people that support you, people that have similar dreams alongside of you, but people don't see you as a threat, I think you'll start to thrive.
I think I totally agree. One thing I think I just thought of and I wanted to say, I think with family it's interesting because like people's families are so different, but sometimes like a family, or you know, the extended family are all kind of you know, from the same kind of walk of life. Let's say everyone within your family might be in the working class kind of you know, situation, but you know, you're like, and you know, you're trying to study hard and you're kind of going through university. It's kind of hard, like knowing kind of by experience with that's kind of like my upbringing. You kind of don't have as much you know, family networks to actually go to, you know, to talk about or like be supported maybe on you know, specific pathways within, you know, the more like the, you know, university pathways, the careers you can do there, right? And so sometimes that's where it's important when you're, you know, at university, surrounding yourself with people who you can learn from, and are going to the direction that you want to, so you kind of grow from that. And that's one example. And then the opposite example is like, also if you're in a family, which I definitely don't relate to, and everyone's, let's say, like a lawyer, doctor, or engineer. What's the other one? Like accountant or some sort of like, you know, like the very common in maybe like Asian families, where like maybe everyone's just this like amazing, you know, rich and ambitious person in your family, and then everyone wants you to do the same thing, but you might not want to, and you know, that's also quite common. So like if that's the case, then that's also where it's important to be surrounded by other people who are doing something a little bit different, whatever that is, whether it's something more creative or whether it's being surrounded by other TikTok content creators. If you are thinking of dropping out of being a doctor and pursuing some sort of content pathway. And I actually know at least one person who actually did that, who might have given up a very lucrative medical career to actually do their own thing, somewhat content related, somewhat business, but like anyways, I just thought of that. So it does happen. So yeah.
Aspire to be the people that go to anime exhibitions and cosplay and not care, because those are the type of people that, as much as most people judge, I like myself judge.
Oh my gosh.
I do admire that their ability to not care what people think and actually just do what makes them happy, and and just dress up, I guess, how they want to dress up. Put on those bold outfits.
I think I'm a big believer in dressing how you want to dress. I can wear the same kind of shirt, like merch, and I don't care if people judge me. That's how I live my life. But yeah, I think I don't know how many bits of practical advice we've given, but I guess
summarize it.
The vision is that surrounding yourself with the right people is very important.
Yes.
No matter how you do it, I think first it's about recognizing, if you're not currently, that there could be improvement to be made, and then thinking about actions you can take. Sometimes it's literally like DMing people and messaging people and reaching out to people potentially online, for example, one of our examples is commenting on YouTube videos for people that you think are pretty cool, and you kind of want to get in touch with, comment on someone's Instagram post, comment on the Spotify podcast. You can do all those things, and who knows what could happen, because we met some of those people eventually. You never know what happens, but and I think the other thing is being open to going to a new group or community, or like if you have a friend that's kind of like I guess someone that you want to aspire to be a bit more like, or like you want to spend more time with them, or you just are curious about what they get up to in their spare time, tag along and join some of the things that they do, and like you might meet people, or like kind of come across others that'll like that, because I think you can only find people sometimes through mutual connections, and then sometimes you get in a group that you never knew of before, because a lot of the time it's introduced by someone else.
Nice.
So did you have any other like tips or last thoughts on this, on surround yourself with the right people?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to content create, definitely get into the surround yourself with people that also want to do the same thing, and also actively doing the same thing, or already starting and pursuing. I only just say that because it makes me think about the people that want to step into entrepreneurship and attend all these seminars but don't actually create a business or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. And I know there are a few people that might tell you, like, oh, you need to create a niche, or you need to find a niche and then, hone in on that. But sometimes you just don't know. So I just give it a go. Yeah.
And if you're listening to this right now and you're like, oh, I feel like I need to not just find people, but be in a different place to meet people that, or like be surrounded by good people that might be heading in a similar direction or you can learn from. I for sure recommend Melbourne as a great place if you don't currently live in Melbourne in Australia. We obviously moved here from New Zealand and no regrets at all, right? No regrets.
No regrets.
But yeah.
That's all the information we'll disclose. We're not disclosing specifically.
No. But yeah, seriously, some of them, if you're our friend, we would want you to come and spend more time with us. And yeah, it's almost like it's the new New York, But,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, my favorite line. But
anyway, I think we'll tie it up here since we've.
Oh yeah, because now we got to get on to other things. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to this short but sweet episode of Chillin' with Dylan. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again for another episode, hopefully pretty soon. Because if you've followed, who knows when the next one is, but hope you enjoyed, and you've just listened to another episode of Chillin' with
Dylan. Engine.